Welcome back to Anime Barbershop, everybody. I'm Geen, your host. Today we're going to talk about the untapped potential of Minato Namikaze. Minato is a prodigious talent rivaling Itachi and Gaara throughout the series, and I would argue he's even more talented than they are, as he doesn't have special eyes, he doesn't have a tailed beast sealed inside of him, he's not even, he's not from the Kazekage or the Uchiha bloodlines, nothing like that. He just pulled up, decided I'm going to be Hokage, and worked his ass off to get there. Minato is already one of the strongest characters in the Naruto verse pre Six Paths. I think he has win scenarios against anybody one-on-one, including Final Valley, Madara, and Hashirama, who I think are the pinnacle of pre-Six Paths tier. KCM2, Sage, Naruto, and EMS Sasuke are right there as well. I think Minato has win scenarios against all four of them. I know Seth, the programmer, did a video saying, what if Minato fought the real Madara, the actual Madara, and that he was using Final Valley Madara in that video, and one of the big things was he was just going to out stamina him. Minato's stamina is fucking insane. I mean, if you go back to when the Ninetales actually attacks Konoha, right? The first, when Mito Uzumaki, who was Hashirama's wife, was giving birth, even with Hashirama trying to hold the Ninetales back, the Ninetales still almost busted out of her. Minato is then given that task. So if he does that, the Ninetales doesn't almost bust out of Kushina. He's about to just pop it right back into place as soon as she's done giving birth to Naruto, which is when, obviously, Obito pulls up and fucks the whole plan up. So that's like a Hashirama level feat right there. Just straight up. Let's be real. To hold the Ninetales back during childbirth, Hashirama did it, and Biwako, who is Hiruzen's wife, was there when Mito gave birth to whichever one of Hashirama's kids it would have been. Clearly that would have been, after Final Valley, so it would have been around the time, most likely, when Hashirama got the deity gates, which are the big red gates that he drops on the Ten Tails. Probably would have been in that time frame, because Mito got the Ninetales during the Battle of Final Valley. So Minato holds the Ninetales back the same way Hashirama would have done in that situation. Then he goes on to use about a dozen or so Flying Thunder Gods, including the Flying Thunder God Guiding Thunder Jutsu, which is the big space-time barrier that he opens up. He uses a couple body flickers, uses a Rasengan, a contract seal. Oh, what else did he do? He did something else. Okay, dozens of Flying Thunder Gods, including the Guiding Thunder Jutsu, which is the big-ass barrier he puts on the Hokage monument. Body Flicker, Rasengan, Contract Seal. He summons Gamabunta and Garotora, which is the little key. It's the frog that has all the... That's like a scroll, too, that has the key to the Ninetales seal. Teleported the entire fucking Ninetales. Summoned a barrier around the Ninetales that even Hiruzen couldn't get past. Super low on chakra. Summons the fucking God of Death. Cuts the Ninetales chakra in half. And then, on top of that, uses an 8 tetragram seal after outspeeding and stopping the Ninetales from killing Naruto with Kushina's help. Of course, who was also near death. Very impressive feat from Kushina there as well. So, it's like, well, how much stronger can this fool get? We know he has Sage Mode, which he didn't use. He doesn't like using it, so he didn't use it. So I really don't... Taking all of that into account, all of that happening within like an hour or two, Madara would still out-stamina him, but it wouldn't be as bad as Seth was kind of making it out to be. Seth was like, oh man, Minato just wouldn't stand a chance. He would just get obliterfucked, blah, blah, blah. And he said something to the effect of, if Madara pulls out the Majestic Attire Susanoo, right, which is when he wraps the Susanoo around Kurama, it's instant GG's. It's not instant GG's actually. All Minato has to do is put his chakra in contact with your chakra, and he can teleport you. So we saw him do this with Naruto, where Naruto was handing out his chakra in the war. Like it was fucking Halloween, and he's giving candy to a bunch of little shitlets running around. And then Minato managed to teleport all of them out of the way of the Ten Tails Cataclysm. If Minato touches the Susanoo at all, he just teleports it away. And we know he can do that if he can use the Guiding Thunder Jutsu, or he can teleport the fucking Ten Tails Bijudama in Edo. Debatably nerfed. In base, he probably is nerfed, but he has Kurama, so it's... Or he has, the yin half of Kurama, so it's a little... He's stronger as an Edo because he has Kurama. If it was just him in base, he'd be weaker. That's my opinion. So, yeah, he just teleport the Susanoo away, contract seal Madara, the Nine Tails. He wouldn't really be able to do anything in the moment, but if Kushina's there, Kushina could just suck the Nine Tails back up inside of herself and, be done with it. And then, be him versus regular Madara, and I think he's definitely got the speed. He can definitely outspeed Madara. He's way better at teleporting and everything like that. So I see Madara winning a lot. I see Minato winning a lot. If they were to fight like 100 times, I would say it's probably like 60-40 Madara. It's way closer than a lot of people think. Madara wins high diff, but Minato certainly has a lot of win scenarios in that fight, especially when you consider the fact that Minato fought against the most hacks ability in the whole show in Kamui and won? What? You think he can't do anything against Madara? Fool? Madara doesn't have Kamui. Kamui is so broken. And Minato just bing bong, fucking fuck your life, Obito, Rasengan. And it was just done just like that. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. So, Minato's a freak of nature. How do we make a character like this stronger? There are some people that scale him up to like 8th Gates guy. No. Absolutely not. But, how do we make a character like this stronger? He's already so powerful. He's already, one of the GOATs. Like, he's the bar for Naruto. And Naruto arguably doesn't even surpass him until he masters Kurama in the war. Like, Kakashi's like freaking out. He's like, when Naruto kicks those Bijou bombs away, he's like, Sensei? Like, whoa, dude. So, yeah, how do you make a character like this stronger? I would start with adding his nature transformation to his Rasengan. So, the thing with this is that Boruto, when he adds his nature transformation, creates a vanishing Rasengan. We know Boruto and Minato have similar chakra types, that they have the same affinity and their chakra is very similar. Naruto, after Boruto was born, he's like, is this dad's chakra? Yo, that's crazy. So definitely could see a vanishing Rasengan. I think the vanishing Rasengan's actually really fucking sick, and so I'm gonna give it to Minato here. We would probably have to do this during his Hokage days, to be honest with you, just because during the Third War he was kind of busy soloing it just by himself, which is where he earned the name the Yellow Flash, as he was feared throughout every enemy village. They were like, if you see a blonde-haired dude, run away, get the fuck out, which is kind of baller, I'm not gonna lie. He's the only person in the series with that craziness, insanity. So Minato is a master of fire, lightning, and wind styles. We could have him learn like water and earth style jutsu, but it doesn't really make a difference. That's not how he fights. He uses his flying Raijin and shadow clones and his Rasengan mostly. So it makes more sense to just give him the upgraded Rasengan. As we know, the Rasengan isn't a perfect jutsu in and of itself. It actually needs the nature transformation to complete it and like perfect it. And I know Boruto kind of, it was sort of an ass pull that he was able to get his Vanishing Rasengan so easily. I didn't like it either. Whatever. Minato probably would have to take some time to do it. He obviously wouldn't be able to summon 1,000 clones like Naruto and kick the shit and master it in like 4 days or whatever. But he could still summon like 20 or 30 and just go crazy. And then there's also the Scroll of Sealing. However, I don't think there's anything in there really worth learning for Minato. He already knows Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu. He already knows Flying Thunder God. Yeah, I don't think either of those things really make sense for Minato either. The biggest thing would be just Sage Mode, mastering Sage Mode to an insane degree. Sage Mode took Naruto from around Kakuzu level. Yes, he was Kakuzu level. I know, Kakuzu already lost 3 hearts from Kakashi. That's true, but Kakuzu also notes that when Naruto gets there, he is roughed up. Fatigued Naruto went there straight after training. One Rasen Shuriken outsmarted and outmaneuvered Kakuzu and killed him. So it took him from basically Kakuzu level. If Naruto was fresh and Kakuzu was fresh, probably still ends up the same. Kakuzu level all the way to fatigued pain level. That's a huge jump. Kakuzu loses to Kisame, Kisame loses to Itachi, and Itachi loses to Pain. That's a big jump from from Kakuzu to Itachi, let alone from Kakuzu to fucking Pain. So it's a huge amp. You're adding that to a guy who basically, I mean, let's be real here, beats up everybody in the Akatsuki individually. He doesn't lose to anybody. No, Itachi doesn't beat him. No, Pain doesn't beat him. No, Obito doesn't beat him. Obviously, he already beat Obito. So, yeah, I mean, let's be real here. You're adding that huge amp, that big difference to a guy who's already stronger. And some say it's like 10 times, it's a 10 times plus amp going off of the curse mark, which I agree with, so you take a guy who scales above, beyond what the Akatsuki is capable of. You're basically taking like a KCM2 Naruto times 10, if you want to be real. So that's insane. We also know Sage Mode took Kabuto from like Kakashi level. He wasn't actually Kakashi level. He wouldn't have fucking ran away pissing and shitting himself every time he saw Kakashi if he was really Kakashi's level, in my opinion. All the way up to EMS, Sasuke, and Edo Itachi level, as they both needed to hold back. Kabuto was holding back because he didn't want to kill Sasuke, and he wanted to regain control of Itachi by rewriting the tag in his head. And then, obviously, Edo Itachi and EMS Sasuke couldn't kill Kabuto, or else they wouldn't be able to release the Edo Tensei Jutsu. So, still huge amps. Also, Kabuto had Hashirama cells and Orochimaru's chakra and the DNA of the Sound 4 plus Kimimaru and all that other bullshit, but still, huge amp. Now, the biggest thing is like, people are going to be like, well, you could just give him KCM 2. Technically, he had the Nine Tails, right? Like, he did have the Nine Tails in Edo Tensei. And I guess you could say, like, oh, if he were to have another jutsu that could split the Nine Tails similarly to the Grim Reaper or the Shikigami, the Reaper Death Seal, whatever you want to call him. If he had a jutsu similar to that, he could use it, seal half of it inside of himself and half of it inside Naruto or Kushina, save her life, whatever. But I think it's more likely, or he could have just outright let Kushina just, die and take the Nine Tails with her, and then it would reformulate after a while. Minato seems to think very highly of the Bijou, though, so I don't think that would happen. Even though, I mean, Minato as an asset for your country is way better than any Bijou. There's 9 Bijou, right? So, 10 if you count the 10 tails, but fuck off. Out of the 9 Bijou, 3 of them work together fluidly with their Jinchuriki, and that's the 8 and the 2 tails, and then the 3 tails with Yagura. So, yeah, out of all the Bijou, 3 of them work with their Jinchuriki. The rest of them don't even fucking like people. So, And I would rather have Minato as an asset than, the Ninetales, if I'm being perfectly honest. Whatever. So, we could say that he gets like a KCM2 boost or whatever. I want to keep. I'm gonna save. So there's like three storylines you can go with here. One is that Kushina takes the Ninetales with her, it reformulates in a few years. That one I'll be using with my Untapped Potential of Naruto. One where Minato does the same thing that he did in the actual story, which is he splits it in half, seals half inside of himself and half inside Naruto, and then dies with Kushina. And then there's the last one, which is him splitting the Ninetales chakra using a different thing than the Reaper Death Seal and putting half inside of himself and half inside Naruto so he can live. In that scenario, he would master KCM2. So we would get a KCM2 Sage Minato, which is Minato is relevant to KCM2. So it's basically KCM2 squared, like KCM2 Naruto. I mean, Minato relative to KCM2 Naruto gets KCM2. So it's like KCM2 squared. Plus, you add Sage Mode on top of that, which is another like 25 times amp, roughly. If you go, the curse mark is 10 times amp, but why would Sage Mode, like, why would actual nature energy be weaker than just like Orochimaru's chakra? Is basically what a curse mark is. I mean, come on, it's got to be at least 25 times. So that would probably take Minato from, like basically God tier, which is like pre 6 paths, to like, I mean, gotta be low 6 paths tier, right? I mean, he would go from, roughing up Hashirama and Madara, being relative to them in terms of like actual fighting, like if they actually got in a death battle, he'd be relative to those two, and then he'd go from that. If you added KCM2 Sage Mode to him, he would be easily, I would say, mid 6 paths tier. Definitely below the hypothetical Itachi we went over in the last video, but also stronger than 8th Gates guy, I think. It's the same situation. 8th Gates guy lands a hit, Minato's done. he's a goner. So yeah, if he doesn't have the Ninetales and you just give him, this ultra mastered Sage Mode that he can basically use infinitely, and has his Vanishing Rasengan and all that, it's probably more like a low 6 paths tier, probably around unstable Jubito level, at best. And that's a little bit wank, because it is, at the end of the day, Sage Mode is kind of the weakness of the Ten-Tails. Like, nature energy is its weakness, so it's more so that he just matches up really well against him, not so much that he's actually like necessarily stronger than them, which is the same situation as Final Valley, Madara, and Hashirama there. So yeah, the problem with Minato is that we don't have a lot to go on. Itachi obviously has 290-page novels, and he's all up and down in the manga and everything, and referenced constantly as being somebody that Sasuke has to work to surpass. So whereas the fourth Hokage is similar to that with Naruto, but he's referenced a lot less and even shown and talked about even less than that, so we'll just say with the KCM2 Sage Mode, he would be mid 6 paths level, lower than hypothetical Itachi, but above 8th Gates guy. Actually above 8th Gates guy, because you would basically, like I said, it'd be a KCM2 Naruto squared, or it'd be like KCM2 squared for him plus Sage Mode, and he would have his flying Raijin, and he would have an even better Sage Mode and probably an even better KCM2 than what Naruto had, because Naruto had just gotten it at the start of the war. So yeah, I would say Minato mid 6 paths tier with all these amps. It's a little underwhelming. If we had more to go on, I could go more in detail, but we just don't. And my next video is going to be kind of a filler video before the big ass Naruto and Sasuke Untapped Potential one, which I'm really excited to do, but that's going to be such a long video. I noticed the last video, the watch time was a little lower, so I'm trying to cut this one down. Thank you so much for sticking through this whole video, though. I really appreciate it. I'm going to head out. Like, subscribe, comment what you think I can do better. And as always, have a wonderful day. Thank you. Bye.